If you're LGBTQ, you don't get then transferred to someone who, let me finish. This just feels cruel and, as you said, political.
This is yet another gut punch to a population that candidly has been abandoned by both sides of the aisle.
I have a super important story for us to cover today that has somewhat been flying under the radar due to the Iran stuff as Trump moves to end the LGBTQ specialized suicide hotline for youth during Pride Month, mind you, in what seems to be completely political and probably homophobic and transphobic as well. So I've got a CNN panel pulled up debating this for us to watch. If you can, leave us a like on the video. It helps us know you enjoy the content. And let's hop right into the debate.
The only thing happening here is that they're cutting ties with this group, the Trevor Project, which a lot of conservatives have problems with because of the way they handle some of their interactions with youth who call them and the ideology that they
So you're
push
admitting
out.
it's political?
I'm admitting that what they did is cut ties with the Trevor Project and keep the 988 service open so anyone can call that.
Yeah, the service is being cut. They are removing specialized services for LGBTQ youth being guaranteed by the government, right? And in doing so, the Trevor Project, the group behind it, is going to lose funding that will probably render them unable to continue it on a private level because, of course, conservatives think that LGBTQ youths aren't real, so neither are their problems. We saw conservatives push a similar thing with women, where for the longest time, if you didn't know, we didn't even do studies on how medicines and treatments affect women. We just did them with men, and we assumed that women would be the same, where over time we learned how wrong that was. It's not only the same here, but it's more significant as mental health struggles are further exacerbated by outside situations, isolation being a big one, by the feeling of being shut out by the outside world. It's so much more dangerous to internalize these things, which as you take away means for people to externally deal with them. That is what the result will be, where it's not like they even find having various hotlines for various things wasteful and they just want it all under one line. They're keeping the specialty line for veterans. So they see the utility in these. They just don't value LGBTQ problems.
If you're LGBTQ, you don't get then transferred to someone who, let me finish, to someone.
You interrupted me, but go ahead.
To someone who
And
is
it's your
a
favorite thing
member in
to
the,
interrupt me and then say I'm interrupting you. But go ahead.
No, who's a member of the community and can speak to these issues, to a group of people who are disenfranchised, in many cases ashamed, and don't feel comfortable talking about their depression, their suicide, their sexuality, to their parents, to their friends, to their teachers. This was a lifeline for a very specific group of people who have very few people. If I called in, I could talk to basically anyone, that's true. But this is a group of people who needs a certain kind of advisor and counselor to understand the unique problems that they are confronting.
And the problem that I just hinted to is the bias that they have towards the LGBTQ community. They understand how veterans might need people they can relate to or who could understand them through firsthand experience when working through PTSD or other symptoms, how Christians might feel safer speaking about their struggles with faith or whatever it might be to a fellow Christian. I, as a Black person, feel more comfortable speaking about my struggles with race and identity with another person of color. I mean, data shows us that we typically see better outcomes when we're treated by someone who looks like us. I think this could be extrapolated to thinks or feels when we're talking about something like mental health. And we know LGBTQ youths are at increased risk of suicide, depression, anxiety. And this is because, and we know this, they are also at increased risk of things like parental abuse, ostracization from community or home, bullying. And a lot of this is due to the exact lack of access to treatments, like what Trump is trying to further here.
This just feels cruel and, as you said, political.
Is cruelty the point? Is it a feature or a bug?
Well, look, I don't know, and I would love to know what's wrong with this Trevor Project. Here's what I would say. If there is something wrong with the Trevor Project, they should find a different group to give these young people special help, because it really is the case. I mean, I grew up in rural West Tennessee on the edge of a small town. Things haven't changed that much. And so I think that if you don't like one service provider, you can find another. When you don't find the other, then it seems like you're just picking on this group.
This is yet another gut punch to a population that candidly has been abandoned by both sides of the aisle these days because it's politically expedient. Speaks to a larger point, though, of these things that Trump is doing that get outshined by some of the bigger news items. Things like the personnel director still hasn't submitted his background check, but no one's really paying attention to it. Him talking about phasing out FEMA, or Stephen Miller saying that there may be some conditions of patriotism to the Department of Education dollars that may be going to states.
And the cruelty is exactly the point. Make no mistake there. The ostracization is exactly the point. They want trans people, they want LGBTQ youth to have no spaces because they think, oh, well, then they'll force them to convert. Look how that's happened throughout history. They want them to know on the federal level that they're adversarial towards them. They do not care about the reality of them existing with or without a hotline to call, that they're just not going to have a hotline to help deal with their problems that are still going to exist, or the increased risk of these problems just because they exist. And again, this hotline was a safe space for that. To pretend it was like a means of indoctrinating children is an insane conspiracy that, of course, MAGA would try to drive home to defend or somehow justify their homophobia or transphobia. It's a clear sign that if you fit in the conservative worldview, they're going to look out for you, i.e., they're not touching the veterans hotline. But if you're antithetical to them, they're not just gonna not look out for you. They're going to actively try to harm you and your community. It doesn't matter that these are children. These are children, MAGA. We're talking about kids here. They don't care because all they see is the LGBTQ first.